Now. Hey, welcome to look. I'm never in the camera, right? But welcome to SISTABIZ. And tonight we have a phenomenal show. Of course, we have our co-host, Miss Tamara Brown, is here,
Hi.
and coming in with us as well is Mr. Curtis, Mr. Presidential Eaddy, who is
Hey,
one
what's
of
up? What's up?
the. Go ahead, Curtis. And
What's going
so
on?
he's going to basically talk to us about different things that is happening around the West Baltimore area as well as other parts of Baltimore. We're going to focus on a lot of the things that are happening in Baltimore City, from the redevelopment to the different community action plans. I'm 100%, I'm all ears tonight. So I'm going to go ahead and Curtis, tell us. I mean, I'm a real estate investor. So I want to know, why should we buy in Baltimore? Other people. We'll say other people.
Well, Baltimore is definitely ripe for the picking, especially if you're an investor. I would say that in a good way, even for homeowners who want to look at building up the income, so being able to really establish generational wealth for themselves and families. If you already own your house and you're looking for opportunity to buy another house that you can develop and flip or develop and use as a rental property, I really feel like it's a great time for it. So for outsiders coming in or people who live in Baltimore, because the prices are low when you compare around the region. I think Pennsylvania is a little less and they don't have taxes, but Baltimore gets you right where you want to be with the highways, access up and down 95. The city in general, you get more commerce, jobs, and opportunities. So people who work right now in DC, a lot of them are looking for, or PG County are looking for housing that's more affordable. And if you're in those areas, you're looking for a place to live, a community, a family-friendly space, space with good schools. I say good schools in a moderate sense, and
Okay.
because the community itself, if we have people who invest and live in the community, that's what make the community better. Not people who just live within their four walls. So I love to say one of the things that we looking for. I mean, I know me as a Baltimore native and rep and just born and bred here. We like people to be authentic. We love people to be themselves and to be open and to be accessible. And a lot of folks that I've met who moved here from other places, they like, well, they can feel Baltimore. No, it's a vibe here that isn't for everybody. But if you like people, and you're a friendly person yourself, you can move in out of Baltimore with no problem.
Okay. Well, Tamara, you want to say something? Or
Sure. So I wanted to ask Curtis Eaddy, is that how you say your last name?
Yes,
Eaddy?
ma'am.
Yeah, so I wanted to ask about the organization that you're affiliated with. Can you explain that and then your role in that organization? And then some of your background, some of the other organizations and advocacy that you do.
Gotcha. Yeah. Well, actually, I'm a part of a few organizations. Well, my current job, I work with a group called the Southwest Partnership. Doing development. They're moved like a CDC, but they're a nonprofit organization, organized 7 neighborhood associations, and just really organized for economic development, housing development, workforce for human capital, and building things for the community, but from the ground up. So I chose that group, or I chose working with the Southwest Partnership myself because I lived in Poppleton. My family, I'm a third generation resident in Poppleton. My family has a lot of history in Poppleton, or just Poppleton, Highlands, in Southwest Baltimore. My grandfather has been noted as historic Arabber and documented in books, as well as Baltimore HBO history documentation, HBO documentaries on the Arabbers of Baltimore.
so, Curtis, I just happened to see a movie on Netflix. What's it called? Concrete Cowboy. And when you look at that background, I haven't watched it yet, but I saw like the little clip of it. And when you look at the background, you would think that it was based in Baltimore, on Baltimore, the Arabbers. But apparently, I Googled it. It said that it's based on Philly. I didn't even know Philly
Yeah,
had Arabbers.
yeah.
So, oh, wow.
So the Baltimore stables here, they get currently their supplies from Pennsylvania. So
Mm,
the Amish and the Amish family or communities in Pennsylvania, they supply a lot of the Arab stables still across the East Coast,
okay.
um, for wagons, for horses, for feed, wintertime, for just certain type of blankets. In Baltimore itself, people don't know just part of the history. I don't know, but part of my personal, I say background in history, I'm a history buff. I love just I love oral history. I love talking with seniors, people who actually been in places like the B&O Railroad, having to speak with one of the ladies who worked as an attendant there, learn about how it was to be a Black representative of the B&O in the early 1900s. Like that was different than reading what they had on the wall posted about the Black railroad workers. So, but coming out of Baltimore, I'm come from a family of entrepreneurs. My family business, we have all in the family. So grew up raised in construction, landscaping, development. So like Nicole, I'm also in real estate development, but not just real estate development, churches, family, we do just property development. So property development for churches, for schools. Outside of that, working with the Southwest Partnership, currently I'm the business relationship manager. And it's been exciting to working with the current business owners and seeing what their issues are. But working with just the developers in the area, I was previously the marketing director there, and opportunity to share all the community events, working with Light City, creating a destination in the community for Soweto Fest. I really drawn the traction and building bridges with other partners. So that's what I've been able to do through working with the Southwest Partnership, but as well as my own personal missions. I've been helping build businesses with business solutions, working with entrepreneurs who need solutions like PPP grants right now, assisting some individuals, assisting with project development plans for different, again, entrepreneurs who want to open up new ventures. So starting small businesses, that's been a passion of mine. I went to college for business administration with a small business development concentration. Graduated from Frostburg State University in 2012, and started a business then in 2009. And it's been a pleasure just to really network and build with different business owners across the city. But my whole focus has always been cause-related marketing. So it's not the fact of just having the business in the community, but being socially responsible. Some people look at, I say this word unjudgmentally, but social capitalism, I feel like capitalism is a big thing in America, where we live in a capitalistic society, especially entrepreneurs. But to think of the people, so to have a social mindset or a social responsibility, understanding I'm out here making money, but people are investing in me, so I should also invest into the people. So helping businesses to align their business with causes. That's one of our goals, or one of my goals.
Amen. Wonderful. And just, I totally agree. I know one of the news stories, not really a story, a tragic event that occurred, not too far from where my store is located. And I used to watch these young boys practicing, beating their drums, and it always kind of like sparked my curiosity and my interest, because I used to play the clarinet to,
Gotcha.
I was in the band, right?
Okay.
Years ago, about 20 years ago. And just to hear, of the tragic event of his death, and that it's these two men that actually sponsor this marching band, for these young kids. And it's organizations like that they're doing out of their own pockets. They have occasional fundraisers. And I guess I'm like, prone to want to help them because I do have that marching band, history. But
Gotcha.
just when I saw the young man, because he was always noticeable because he had this red hair, you know what I mean? So,
Gotcha.
and then when I saw it on the news, 17 years old, he could be my son, so my thing is how can businesses reach out to organizations like this? Because you're right, a lot of times people, they don't know. We get caught up in doing a business. We may not necessarily know verbatim who to reach out to. By the grace of God, this one of the band members is on my Instagram page, so I was able to reach out to them. But my thing is that how can other businesses get involved with that social aspect side?
Man, in Baltimore, it seemed like we're oversaturated with resources. There's so many resources, so many windows and doorways and pathways, but it's not that many, I say, voices or opportunities to connect them. You know, it's great that, you know, you're in that community and you were able to see something, and now you're able to, because it pricked your heart, you know, you're there as a connection. And that's what we need, more connectors, you know, people who are in the community, but also people who are more informed. You know, Baltimore, hate to say it, but we're a bit ignorant to a lot of the things, so resources that are available, pathways. So even with connecting the communities, despite what happens one block, it may not impact somebody else the same, but you have a connection with the clarinets or the instrumentation, the marching band, so that drew you in. For other businesses, it's difficult to say. I don't think it's meant right now. I know about social innovation, a social innovation hub. I can't think of what they're called though right now off the top of my head.
Now,
it's
is
right
that
there, North Avenue.
okay?
North Avenue.
Social Innovation Hub. Okay, so
Yeah.
that's an organization of other. What exactly do they do?
So several different like social innovation like groups right now. Red Bull, Amafico. They've been pulling together a lot of different small business owners, creatives, and influencers to do like a summer program where during June through August, they put these, it's like almost like a fellowship. They get these different entrepreneurs, influencers, and folks together, creatives, and then they do events throughout the summer. They give them $1,000, $3,000 to help develop that concept or idea to create some social impact. You know, so it's teaching entrepreneurs not just about how to do their business better or giving them tools to be better entrepreneurs. Because some people know, like, I'm good at what I do, but I don't know how to do the business of what I'm doing. You know, so helping them to become better entrepreneurs and giving them tools. But Rebo, Amafico, I have to Google it to see, but they're right there on North Avenue.
Tamara, you knew about that?
And St. Paul.
No, I didn't. But I do agree that there needs to be collaboration. There are so many resources, and there's really not one place for everyone to go to find out what those resources are for so many different areas in Baltimore. There's a lot of organizations doing some really good work. And so the organization that the young man, and his name was Kenyon Jones, that he was shot, I believe was early March on Pratt Street. And he just passed away at the end of March from that shooting, from those injuries. So he was part of Positive Impact 410. Is that the organization that?
I believe it's called New World Order or
New
Extravaganza.
Okay.
Correct. I think they might have had I don't know, like a name change or something, but it's hosted by Mike Cole.
Okay. Okay. And so speaking to Mr. to Curtis about being a young Black man growing up in Baltimore, we see like right now, I think we're up to about 77 homicides, and some of them, you know, like I think there was a 4-year-old that died of methadone, and he had a methadone overdose last year, and then he died this year. But there's 77 homicides, and the ages range from 4 or 15 to in the 70s. What do you think? We talk about all these organizations. What was most impactful for you to, you went to college, you did all the right things, you're active in your community. If there are young listeners on, or even parents or grandparents, to get your perspective, what was the most impactful for you being a young man growing up in Baltimore City? Most positive impact?
His mama, have you met her? That's number one.
She's definitely been a great inspiration. My mom, my dad, my grandparents, my family in general. I think having that sense of family and that connection, having ties, seeing 4 generations of family in my lifetime, as far as my great grandmother, and knowing back to my roots of North Carolina personally. Because I told my dad about in my 20s, like, Dad, I feel like I am an anomaly in the sense of my friend groups from high school, from middle school, even from college. I went to college, and I wasn't the only Baltimorean there. Frostburg, my first year there was the first enrollment, the highest enrollment of African American students. They did like a busing of people there to Frostburg at that time. But I don't know. I just I can't say exactly what it is. I do know that coming from a God-fearing family, that despite me choosing my options, like I chose to get in trouble, I also understood early on that my choices had repercussions, you know, and learning to become responsible at a young age. I didn't want certain that. So me personally, it was 11th grade. My cousin, he was murdered in front of my mom, my aunt, and a couple weeks before him, he was like, "Curtis, I want you to do something to get our family out the hood. Like I've been smart. I've been playing sports up until that point. It was like, do something." He actually told me to use my music. Like go be something to help us out as our family. And it really, to this day, has been like motivation. But at the same time, to know that I have choices and I have options, and then that turned my life around. Like I see myself making some decisions and choices, but he was murdered in cold blood by a friend of mine who I met in high school, you know, and they weren't even connected. But a small situation escalated, and to be able to heal and deal with that trauma, having the support system, like I say, family system, God, family, spirit, I feel like that helped me to be a little different, or at least a push. I don't know if that is it, because I know a lot of church folk who give up. I know a lot of regular entrepreneurs who give up, but I related one to family, having a connection, lineage. I feel like us as Black people, we don't really know where we come from. So having that lost identity doesn't allow us sometimes to muster up or feel like we have to do it or we can, because we don't have many examples. But I learned that I had examples, and I wanted to set an example. Two part was because, I don't know, Baltimore needs it. I feel like Baltimore has this beautiful side, and it actually is the reason why I coined the term "beautiful side of ugly," because I love my city. I love Baltimore's history. I call it the birth canal of the nation. And coming here, like, because of this history, like from the Mayflower to it was here longer than it was the United States itself. Baltimore City, it was just 13 colonies. You know, the city was here. So before it was the whole United States. And so much of the history that has took place, from Star Spangled Banner being writ here, the Revolutionary War being won here, to development. I learned day by day that impact our nation to today. So once I learned these things, I love the harbor, I love the community, the members, and it's like accessible. I have all that I need, that I want. I can do cruises from here on, or I can fly from east west, and it's not that far. But other people don't see it that way. When I went to college, everybody only seen The Wire. The Wire just came out in 2006, or around that time. So it was like, Baltimore got a bad rap, and I wanted to do something different. I wanted to show that, hey, Baltimore has something different that it could offer. So that was just a personal challenge for me that I took.
So if you were asked, what does the beautiful side of ugly actually mean?
If I was asked what that means, so the beautiful side of ugly is America, you know, but it's the people of America. America itself, so many would say, is ugly, for all that is created, all that people experience, the birth of America, the thought of America. People abroad fear America, you know, and they don't know the Americans that live here. The idea and thought that race lives here in America is ugly. It doesn't. Ultimately, it was created here. The thought that you colorize folks, black, whites, whatever, instead of us just being Americans because we were born here. That subjugation of who we are is ugly. The Constitution, the body of America, how it's created. But it's beautiful too, because we have freedom, we have things that everybody in the world want to get here. You know, it's like if only the people here could see the beautiful side, and we do. We take advantage of it, but we don't connect it. So it's like, all right, the beautiful side of ugly is the people, the things, the art, the history, it's the culture, and we want to showcase this through stories, content, and we showcase this through bringing the people together in events and exploring just culture, art, and conversations. It's called Black Thought. So it's grown to be more. It's a campaign now. It's a reformative social movement focused on raising awareness of trauma and healing through art therapy. But the term itself, America's ugly. We want to show the beauty, the people that are being left behind, the people whose stories aren't being told.
Okay, thank you for that explanation.
Wow.
Yes,
So with that, are you having like events, or is it like workshops? Like, exactly what does your organization do?
So the beautiful side of ugly is a campaign. When I coined the term, I didn't want it to be a business itself. It's like something that everybody can be a part of, because it's us, it's our story. So what it grew to, again, a reformative social movement, how we focus on the awareness of raising awareness of trauma and trauma impacted communities, and helping to infuse art therapy, healing through art therapy. So one, we do events to gather the community together. These are more positive social movement events, festivals. The Beautiful Side of Ugly Festival is hosted annually. We're coming up on our 4th year, but we're going to say it's the 3rd. So our 3rd year is October 12th. It's always on World Mental Health Day, which is the 2nd Saturday of October. So October 12th, The Beautiful Side of Ugly will be popping off, and events, thought-provoking content. So just to be able to help people understand what is depression, how can you heal from it? What is anxiety? Some things that we recognize or we learned about in our adulthood, but our youth right now is going through things. Like, we are impacted by trauma, and we don't understand why we can't get out of our negative habits or like behaviors that we just can't. But these are coping methods, you know. So how do we cope better? How do we have positive expressions to have positive conversations? So that thought-provoking conversations, we're actually trying to start a blog, or we're about to start a blog and podcast, just to be able to share content, share informations. So we've been focusing through events, but we're now building content and building platforms to engage the community through conversations and media.
Okay, so the current administration in Baltimore City has taken an approach where they believe that the crime, of course, has a lot to do with the trauma that you're speaking about healing. And so have you been in touch, or have you worked with anyone within the city administration to collaborate with them, or working with schools? Were you part of any transition teams or anything like that? Because I know that did come out, and that's the approach the new administration wants to take, though I'm not really sure what measures they're going to take to make sure that that's done to reduce the crime in the city. Have you had any dealings with that?
So I personally haven't worked on the mayoral transition team. One of my personal partners have, through another venture, Kioba Business Ventures. And so I've been well informed and been keeping up notice. He's actually one of the committee chairs for the board. And I don't know if they have a resolution how to heal through trauma. They are looking for resources. They are looking to partner with folks. There are several organizations, but it's a new concept. And what I did learn speaking with University of Maryland, Baltimore. So my approach was to go to the people. When I look at trauma, I look at myself. I've been impacted by trauma, the situation that I shared with you, and several others. And I start to realize how my behaviors, or like, sometimes it's like the PTSD, you fall back into a zone out, and it's like, all right, a couple minutes has just passed, and I'm a little black out here. So I needed to get therapy. And then I learned, well, music is therapy, and I've been doing music all my life. So I've been using it in a sense of therapy, writing my thoughts down, my way that I process things. But no, I haven't. I try to get back to your question. Connected with the specific Reformation team or the team for the city. No, we have connected with University of Maryland, Baltimore. UMBC has been working with us directly, and they're helping us to build the platform out greater. So doing oral stories is how we've been just really documenting parts of the history. We want to do documentation through oral stories, through art walks. So that's where we've been focusing, and then showing people the beautiful side of the trauma. Through the event wise, we bring in people to say, how can you heal from your trauma? Yoga, breathing exercises, having folks come in from UNB Health Alliance. So the students, they came and created affirmations, ways that individuals can heal. And then they had resources for folks if you wanted to get like PRP services, or if you wanted to sign up with a therapist. So I've tried to correct with direct services versus going the city route. Not that I don't like working with the city and certain institutions, but I feel like the bureaucracy of it doesn't always help to get to the people, heal the people the way that it's intended to. And so, no, I personally haven't, but I have been connected and well informed of some of the goals and the plans.
I know the Kioba group. I was actually in a deep conversation this evening, and this was actually my first time actually hearing about it, other than I think Donnie briefly mentioned them to me. But they're building houses. Like, I'm hearing that they're actually putting a lot of young men to work. And I think that that's part of healing the trauma. You know, when people they can't support their families. Many people may have gotten in trouble at some point in their life, and they can't access jobs. And that's a major problem. When people come out of different institutions, they can't get, positions. So what ends up happening is that they have to become reoffenders. So, big ups to them for definitely teaching those trades to those young men. Because, the hands, the skill sets, being able to can never be replaced by robots. You know what I mean? Not yet, anyway.
Right.
I was watching a guy tonight on Instagram. He's building what they call that technology or something. It's something with the robots, but so not yet, but maybe in the future, 100 years from now. So, I mean, it's a lot of good organizations doing some good things. I did see where the mayor has like this trauma response, where he's trying to, I guess, like certify everyone in this trauma certification or something. So I don't know if the police are going to have that same course. Do you know, Tamara? I don't know.
Yeah.
Probably not, but no, okay. I don't know.
Yeah, because I was like, I don't, because I would think that everyone would have to be trained. I think the entire city is up under some form of PTSD, honestly, because a lot of people have become so acclimated to the murders. And it's just like, oh, another one. Like when I read some of the comments on like the Baltimore Sun's Facebook page, it's embarrassing as a human being. How apathetic we are, no empathy. Whether it's, someone black, white, blue, green, we're so ready to, just be evil. And I don't know. It's like a form of PTSD because what human, because these was once someone's babies, they were babies, and to see that happen, we're like, oh, who cares? Or they want to blame the mayor, or they want to blame, whatever. And at the end of the day, everything is political, and it's probably really above the mayor's pay grade. A lot of the crime that is going on in the city. That's my opinion. I think he goes a little bit higher. You know what I mean? So I don't know. So what do you guys think? I guess we can try to get a hold of some of the youth, because I truly believe that that's where we have to start, because so many of them are disenfranchised. We did see the reports that the rec centers are being reopened in certain areas, but is that enough? Is that enough? Oh, okay. I got two no's. Okay, so what else do we need to do? I mean, what else can we do?
I'll let our guest go, Curtis.
I mean, there's a lot that we can do. We talk about trauma within the community or the city. I mean, America has been traumatized. I mean, that's again the beautiful side of ugly. Like, how do we heal America from its own trauma? One thing I learned, you can't just have policies come into place and they write papers and say, "Hey, I just did a certification and now I understand what trauma is and now I'm trauma informed." You're trauma informed, but you don't understand how to cope with, even live. Most of the time, if you don't live in the community, it's a little different, than interacting with the community. So, yeah, folks that really, you got to be immersed in it. And working with UMB, they working with the People's Institute. Miss Wendy Shaya, she brought in the People's Institute, and it was awesome to see. In order to really affect these things, like you said, it's higher than the mayor. You got to take it to the top. You know, in order, if you they brought in the People's Institute to look at social equity within this institution, and how can we have our deans and teachers and students look at social ethics and them think about social justice, but from top down administration or just the history of these institutions alone, they have shown bias. They've shown racial injustice. They've shown that, I think up until the 1980s, I think it was around 89, the first Black student was enrolled into University of Maryland, Baltimore. It's in a Black university. Before then, they used to pay, and they would pay sometimes other students. I won't say all of them, but some students have been said to have been paid to attend other universities. And it's crazy that you live here in Baltimore, you know, you can go to the hospital, you can see the school, but you can't attend despite your accolades, despite your education, whatever you've done to get there, because it's always been a grad school. So the history that they're trying to unpack, you know, you can't do that at the bottom level. You can't talk to the janitors. You can't talk to the security guards, because they're all third party anyway. None of them are really employees of the institution. So you got to talk to the people up top. And I love how they really brought in this opportunity to bring in community members, opportunity to bring in business owners, people who are engaged with the university, people who are engaged with just forward thinking or reformative processes. It was awesome to meet a lot of the folks. And I think in the city, we need the same. So you can't just have policies to put in place and folks, or definitely not the police system. You need total reform. In America, we need total reform. My suggestion, personally, the system has to change. In order to do that, it has to be scrapped, because until you have the Constitution, which states that 3/5 of man, you know, until that is rewritten or just trashed and everything else is rewritten, nothing else really. It's just an amendment too, which states it as a clause. So we can become clauses all we want. And policies can continue to be in our favor, but the documentation that says this country was built, it's not for us as a people. And our system has to go through that trauma, unpacking that trauma.
In one strike, you basically become a slave.
In one strike.
Yeah, technically, yeah, that's our Constitution.
One strike. So, like, white people, they've been traumatized. They've been traumatized to think that they are superior. That's a trauma, you know, to deal with. And you see a lot of white people, to be empathetic, you know, because they feel, and this is something that was brought to me when I was talking about the beautiful side of ugly and trauma informed about 2 years ago, right before COVID. And a female, a woman, she told me that, hey, it'd be great. You get all the people from the county to come in and we can do it here at this, like, make it an informative event so that the white community can come and learn about trauma-informed care. What is trauma? How to engage in these communities? How did these basically communities get this way? Ways that they can support through funding, because that's what they love to do. They love to support causes. They love to support people. And I didn't even think about it like that. Beautiful Side of Ugly for me and our events was targeted, focused towards the people and helping directly heal trauma through services. not to inform folks. So I learned trauma-informed care isn't for community workers. So when I talked to some of the institutions, they was like, no, we can't come into your community right now because we weren't invited. You know, they got to be invited into the community. And trauma, they don't want to tell a Black resident of Baltimore City that they're traumatized, and their situational environment is the reason why they're traumatized, because they feel like that would drive them insane. Then you feel like now you're feeling like you're lost, you're hopeless, and everything you've done has put you in this predicament, and there's no real way for you to get out of it. And I don't feel that
Black trauma is big money.
big money, you know, medicated.
Political.
Medicated.
But it's true. I mean, it's big money, you know, from our kids being pushed with these drugs, you know, Ritalin and whatever else they decide they want to come out with, all the way to the body bags. Black trauma is big money. I mean, and it's a lot of people profiting off of it, you know, and I don't know.
Insurance and pharmaceuticals,
graveyards, and incarceration and private jails and prisons.
Exactly.
are really big. And so so when we look at the youth and talk about how we can fix things, and I know you were addressing like the United States as a nation, but for me, being here in Baltimore, and it's so brown, it's, you know, it's so Black, and we're very much the majority here. I do feel like there should be, if there's nowhere else that there's hope, it should be here. And that's what the city is missing, is just hope. I think a lot of the youth just don't have any hope. When you go home and you see your parents, they don't have that hope, and they don't have those opportunities. And like Curtis was saying, there's just been, we've been left out and pushed out of so many areas and so many different spaces where we should have had opportunities. So I do think that parenting, of course, is very important. But if your parents don't have hope, it's going to kind of trickle down, and that's another form of trauma. There's just no hope. But you would think, again, and a lot of things we talk about on the show, and something I take very seriously is our political leaders, and the leaders in our community we should be very responsible. And it's just difficult to find leaders overall, not just political, but overall, that are really in it with their hearts, and they're not looking at their pockets. And so I just would like to express that if we could get more leaders that just really cared and really want to reach into the community and give these children some hope and be examples, then maybe we'll see something happen. But I mean, the United States is such a mess, and it's just so large. If we could just take Baltimore and just fix this one small city with a dwindling population, then I think we could get somewhere. We could actually see some hope. So with that being said, I did want to talk more about the development and developers. And again, like we talked about last week, and we talk about week after week, is it's the minority businesses that really are going to employ the returning citizens, the young, you know, the squeegee boys that are our youth. You're not going to see that in some of these areas where we're just not allowed to be. So as far as development, I have a lot of people that talk about it's difficult to get in development in Baltimore City. You know, they don't make it easy for you. What are your thoughts on that?
Curtis or me? Go ahead.
Well, it's difficult. I can't say that it's too difficult. I think that one thing that we, as a lot of minority business owners, got to get out of the habit, or get into the habit of, I'll say, is we got to start doing our documentation, and we got to start doing things the right way. A lot of the opportunities are missed because we are just not prepared. And when you get into real estate, I mean, they try to, of course, the game is chess, you know, it's not checkers. So you can't just buy a property and think that, yeah, I'm in it. You know, you got some permits to get through, and you got some legalities now since 2019. In order to rent a property, you have to turn the property into a rental. There's certain permits or things that you have to get checked off. It didn't used to be that way. So inspections. But I think that the issue mainly has been me personally seeing it. We started Kioba 3 years ago. In 3 short years, we've been able to amount to a brand that's emerging. We're working with a lot of different partners, from institutional, city partners, development partners throughout the city. We have a property now. It's a 4-bedroom property, about to list for $215,000. It was our first property in the middle of COVID, able to get it done. So I think that it's not hard. You know, a construction family, we've been operating for 40 years. We haven't done many flips, but we have a lot of rental properties throughout the city, and just been able to operate through doing construction business. Some opportunities we missed because we just weren't prepared for paperwork with the right paperwork. You know, so me knowing the insides of it, I'm like, all right, we get this right, then we can take advantage of that opportunity. But until then, it's just on the table. You know, and too often we leave money on the table. For those who are ready and those who do have the means, it's just getting your feet wet. Like you may get burnt. It's a lot of underhanded business in Baltimore, and I think that's just with real estate in the general. You know, you see a lamb. Hey, people got money. They got a couple $1,000s they want to spend. Come here, come on over here. So just being able to discern who you should work with, vetting your vendors. That's one of the biggest things. You can't just get and buy the house. You know, the house got to be developed. You got a time frame you want to sell that thing. So what is your scope of work? You know, understanding what are you getting into before you do it, because it's always more than just the shell or the walls, especially if you're not a contractor. A lot of people get into it not being contractors, saying, hey, they said it's going to work. $50,000 plus $20,000 later, I'm going to have a house for $120,000 in 6 months. And it's not that, you know. So Baltimore's an old city. If you want to develop here, I'll say understand that you have some chap laws. It depends on the district you're in, but it's looking at mainly a total renovation. It's not a fixer-upper. People don't want the old style housing. They don't want a lot of the fixtures that used to be there. Nobody really use them ceiling fans. They don't want radiators, you know. So you got to really renovate the homes and understand that's going to cost you a lot of more than what you probably paid for it, because it's just the old structure. So getting into it, understanding the financing, understanding that, hey, you got to vet your contractors, try to get a relationship with as many contractors as possible. It's easy because it's a lot of contractors out here. You can look on Angie's List, or you can just go outside and see somebody working next door to you, because work is happening all over the city, you know. Or in general, the MBE list, there's over 200 MBE certified minority businesses who do construction work and who's doing real estate development. So just being able to benchmark somebody who you like. Maybe the guy down the street did a good house. You want to do the same thing. Go talk to him. You know, don't just think that I can put my money into real estate because it's working all over the country. Every city's not the same, especially when it comes to property taxes, legalities. So understanding that Baltimore is stupid when it comes to legalities, and it's very slow when it comes to processing. So how you seek to acquire a property, think you're going to get an auction flip or a tax sale, and it's going to be a quick process. It's not. You know, so really a lot of it is the ignorance again. So really understanding, doing the research before we get into it, making sure that we have vetting those partners, and the financing. It's a lot of money. So if you want to do it, it's money in Baltimore, money in Maryland for people to buy. If you want to live here, it's double the money. But if you just want to invest here, it's money available. So if you come ready with your funding and say, this is what I have, and doing the paperwork, this is what I want, this is what I need, you know, you can outlay that. Then I'm pretty sure that there's going to be some financing available to help you do that, because they know that it's going to cost a lot. The city understands that these houses have been devastated for too long.
Well, and just to touch back on the city and the processes, one thing that I find is that the city does hide. And I won't even say hide, okay? Convoluted. That's been my favorite word, and we're just going to stick to it. Convoluted with the processes, and not necessarily disclosing a lot of programs such as the lien abatement program that Baltimore City does have. A lot of people don't know about it. They're intimidated by some houses have hundreds of thousands of dollars of liens on them that can be acquired. and basically by going through the lien abatement process, but the average Baltimore citizen knows nothing about it. And this is what I'm talking about. There's a lot of programs, different incentives. People don't even know that there's if they're in enterprise zones, opportunity zones. Who's telling people this type of information? Because for me, I use Google, or I may call up, the Baltimore Development Corporation, or I may talk to someone in DC that'll be like, hey, Baltimore got this and that money. But I just feel sometimes that organizations should be putting that out there to people, because the average person that wants to get into development should have access to that information.
So there's not one place that has those resources or links or anything for someone that may want to get started.
I would say there's probably about 3 places, not directly one. What I'm learning is BDC is becoming a really good like hub. So they on their site you can kind of come and see financing opportunities, but they'll let you know, look, to get through the process, you may need to talk to SBA if you need to get your plan together. Or
and BDC, I'm sorry, BDC is the Baltimore Development Corporation.
Yes, please.
Right.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right.
Yes.
Just for viewers that may not know.
Correct. I appreciate it. So just to be able to share, like BDC, to me, they've been a little forward thinking, working with the city. But if you're looking to live here, it's a little different. Live Baltimore, I would looking at neighborhood choices, options. If you depends on how you want to navigate, because having somebody to ask that question, if you're not, and it's crazy, it's Baltimore City and government policy things, you have to either have a quasi group like HABC, which is Housing Authority for Baltimore City, to deal with city problems or issues. If not, then other public people or public groups have to start these groups and those institutions so that we can share the information. So like the Southwest Partnership where I work at, I love it because it's said to be a catalyst, for information like that, so that people can connect. Regular folks who live in the community can come and get resources that they don't got to Google and cipher through multiple pages to put it together. But right now there aren't any organizations that are out there. There's CDCs that are growing in different pockets. Druid Heights CDC. They're on Gold and McCullough Street. They're really good right now and helping develop in that 215, 216 area. I think 215, 217. So just and East Baltimore, Southeast CDC. So there are small groups that are popping up. LEDC, Latino Economic Development Corporation. I think that they're probably the hottest right now. They're getting in the streets. They understand, one, we're a minority group, so we aren't used to having these resources. So let's get it to our folks because they look like us. They're me. I'm with them. That's family over there who may not even be family, but I feel like they've been the ones pounding the pavement the most. I've been seeing them pop up in a lot of neighborhood associations and a lot of small businesses receiving grants through the LADC, which is the Latin Economic Development Corporation. So those are some groups that we can definitely plug with. I don't know if we can type that in somewhere in the chat and folks can see, but Baltimore Development Corporation, the Latin Economic Development Corporation. Those are 2 sites that I would say. Go Northwest if you're looking for homes and you like first-time home buyers. It's amazing. People will go buy a house. Like, man, I just spent all this money and they know nothing about first-time home buyer programs. It's like you struggle to get what you need. And some of it is they know, but just unsure, So we need more people who've gone through these programs to share their stories. And that's one thing that through my thing of loving oral histories and those stories, that try to use that storytelling in all of our marketing. So when things are happening in the community, you gotta find somebody. Hey, tell the folks what you just did, how you did it, so that you can get somebody else can get access.
Wonderful. And so and just to highlight the pockets. We're getting ready to come upon the history of Black Wall Street. And of course, our platform, he has a new book. Donnie Glover has a new book coming out. I am Black Wall Street.
I am.
That's right. Right here, like we are Black Wall Street. So we're gonna claim it on that day. Tamara's claiming it. Curtis claiming it.
Claiming it. I'm claiming it.
So I mean, it's some hot things that's happening in West Baltimore for the Black Wall Street movement. Just share a little bit with us.
So in Baltimore, I know specifically West Baltimore, and it's almost at the cusp, but right there, if you pull up at 25th Street in Howard, you get a row of clothing lines. Huey Brand's been there for over a decade.
Okay, he support ASC.
Yeah.
Yep. All the time. Yeah.
I actually went to high school with him.
Larry Love.
Larry Love. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. You got the young artist. Darn it, keys going to trip me up. But it's a young artist. He's really hot right now. He's a hip hop rapper, and he has a clothing brand there on the Strip as well. You have St. Mary's right down the road. Terrence, but Terrence, he just hit East Baltimore, so we're gonna leave him out for now because you said West Baltimore.
Terra Cafe, that's East Baltimore.
Yeah, so Charles Street is the divider line. You know, he one street over. So leaving that. And that's my guy. He wanted to partner with Cowboy as well. But leaving there, coming on over to Holland's area, you know, we got Papa's in West Baltimore Street, but Holland's Market, around the market. My guy with Popular Strangers, long term, he's a friend of mine, BJ. He got the hats, the fitted caps, but they also coming with a different brand with clothing style. So Protect Your Sanity is looking at, again, hope that you're saying. You know, we're starting to, is what we do, put the culture on textiles. Put the culture out there as many different ways as possible. So just to be able to provide hope through clothes is what his brand is doing. And talking about West Baltimore, so they got the BALDAMOR. How we talk it is how it's spelled. And
let's say Baltimore.
Baltimore. Yeah. So it's a D there. You still say Baltimore. You just don't put the T there. Some people try to drop it and say Baltimore. No, it's another syllable there. But just getting back with the City of Gods, they've been there for over a decade, and just watching them grow and blossom, to see partnerships from their clothing line and partnering with Under Armour and be able to do short runs, development, branding. They brought Red Bull and Bofico into the Hollands area and their partnership. So we started this in the social innovation program was connected with City of Gods and Red Bull and Bofico, and that became one of the core sites across the city. So they had 3 sites, and that was always the closing site in August. And we had a big event with New Beginnings Barbershop, Troy Staten, and brought in Casa Permanente. So it's like over here in Hollands, you got a hub along West Baltimore Street. There's many different Black businesses currently. The CPBO, a lot of the development along the corridors owned by Black developers. And it's a crazy story about that, but I don't know if we got enough time, because land banking is a way of getting money. And if you can get into land trust or land ownership, you know, real estate is one thing, but land ownership, land development, that's a whole nother. It's a whole nother ball game. It's not the same as real estate. But
who's gonna teach that class? But who gonna teach the class? I mean, seriously, because we got to start putting this information out there for the people. And by the way, I'm about to be y'all neighbor to the Lower Baltimore. That's right. Okay. So yeah, but I'm hoping to bring a turkey recipe where it's called Just Turkey out of Chicago. So we shall see whether or not they allow me to franchise. So we shall see. But I'm game. You know, I think there's a lot of positive things that's happening. You know, in West Baltimore. Do you know anything that's going on in East Baltimore? Anybody? I mean, I don't know. Forgive me for not knowing. Anyone know like any Black Wall Street movements that's happening in East Baltimore, North Baltimore, South Baltimore?
I mean, there's a couple East Baltimore. I ain't gonna lie to you. I know that they're still surviving in Old Town Mall, but businesses were still there for the past 10 years. They've been creating little hubs, creative hubs, performance spaces. But I think they're now about to close that hub. as they look for development, real estate development. A lot of places East Baltimore has already come up. I don't know too much. I have to get over there, but I know about like the Men's Family Center over there, East Baltimore. They're doing some great things with just men providing resources to single dads, men who are re-entering into the city, providing it's almost like the CFUF, which is the Center for Urban Families, but they're East Baltimore, smaller base. Providing food, they've been giving out food the whole time, providing jobs, job training, as well as just being an outlet. So therapy, legal fees is being waived through. So just giving men opportunities. So that I love to big them up all the time. East Baltimore, but take it back to Terra Cafe.
We love Terrence.
Yeah.
Right. So I mean, we Baltimore definitely again has some really booming businesses. A great group of people that are really trying to make change in the city, and it's just really a pleasure to be a part of that. So and part of that movement. So as we're closing up the show, Curtis, thank you so much for joining us today. If there are 3 nuggets that you could just reinforce, or 2 for our viewers, as far as like your work in the movement and your work with South Baltimore Partnership, what are like 3 nuggets that you would like to leave our viewers with this evening?
So 3 nuggets. I would say Black thought, for us to start to see how we can heal through our own trauma, providing hope amongst each other. How do we come creating content and opportunities for us to heal with each other? So we need to start being socially responsible in all things, for us, how we work with business owners, as artists. We can't just be here and consumers. People consume what we put out, but we don't have the consideration to what they're getting from us, or our lifestyle, because we're role models in the end. So Black thought, and just really understanding that reflection of self in your community. That's 1. 2, with the Southwest Partnership. Hey, y'all, I definitely say if you don't know, you got to know. If you want to do development or investment into that corridor from MLK to Fulton, from 40 Marbury Highway to Nowhere to Pigtown Edges, the Southwest Partnership, because they allow you to stack money and give you resources. It's like opportunities that I didn't know if I would take advantage of if I had the opportunity to buy a property and then leverage funding. Like you said, you ain't gonna find out on your own unless you Google it, unless somebody told you about it. You probably don't know to Google it. So they're gonna help give you a pathway that you can stack funding so that you can make your development successful. That taking advantage of the opportunities in the area. So I definitely see any developers, Black developers, to buy and own your property instead of paying $60,000, $70,000 a year. Buy your property. Buy your property. Own your property.
Rent to yourself. Yep.
Yeah, and rent to yourself. Yes, write it off. Get right, because the paperwork is necessary. So the last one is paperwork. Documentation, documentation, documentation. Is what my best friend used to tell me all the time. Shout out Sola. Documentation is what we need. That's what holds us back. Let's go ahead and get it right. 2021, baby.
Thank you so much for joining us this evening. I mean, in closing, I just want to say again that Black Wall Street is coming out. It'll be a great book with a lot of history in it. And we're coming up on the anniversary, and I'm just really excited to get my hands on that book. And again, I just want to tell all our viewers that are here in Baltimore, wherever you are, we're really dynamic people, and we have so much to offer, and don't let anybody tell you any different. We're trying to inspire on this show and to give more information, and we're going to try to plug some information in places for you to see them. But we just never want to give up hope. And we want to pour into each other. So that's my closing for the week. Nicole, you want to close out the show for the evening?
Hey, all I got is build, baby. We gonna build, just build. I mean, build as much as we can, buy as much as we can, because ownership is definitely where it is. Anyone ever have any questions, they know where to reach me. 667-930-3114. If I don't want to talk to you, I just don't answer. And I'll just say But always, I am reachable and approachable. So any questions, I welcome them. So have a good night. I enjoyed, of course, my lovely co-host Tamara Brown, and of course, Mr. Curtis, Mr. Presidential, who is also a rapper. We didn't get a chance to really, touch on that, but yeah, he is like a man of many professions and stuff.
Wow.
So, right, multifaceted.
It's the mogul mindset,
Like I said, we're
baby.
dynamic. You just
Yeah.
never know.
Yeah.
Well,
I
thank you
appreciate the
for
opportunity, ladies. Thank you all for inviting me on, allowing me the space to share and talk with you all. I appreciate it. I love it. Great vibe.
Thank you so much
Great
for tuning in.
vibe.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
See you guys
you.
next week.
Yep. See you later.
Bye.
Bye-bye.